yes, you're looking for children to come to school and be educated, but if there is a school feeding program and the education is not free, how does that work?
For public primary school, education is free. Public primary, not private.
Yes, public primary is free, but we've also heard governors say in some states that we're going to make it totally free, yes, because there are situations whereby, yes, in name it's free, but then when you begin to hear, oh, bring this dues, bring that levy,
let me bring it back to perspective, because when we say it's a political program, it isn't. It's an African Union program. It so happened that it was brought on the platform to Nigeria in 2004 when PDP was around. And we implemented, we learned our lessons. One is, if you don't allow a community to development program, it is bound to fail. But the moment a community embraces it, the women are selected by them. They tell you, this woman is not clean enough to cook for my child, so I don't want her to cook in that school. They do that. It's a democratic process in the community.
That's word of mouth.
So when they do that, and they give us all the details, then we go ahead and say, okay, we have that fund, that structure. We have 5 structures. Yes, you want to talk about school feeding globally? 5 structures. It must be community owned. The funding must be defined. We must have a continuous funding channel. If we want to talk about the legal frameworks, they are there. There's a school health policy, the UBEC Act says we should feed. We're looking at the social protection, because from this government, we're looking at it as a social protection program. We want to invest in the life of the poor.
Now, just a moment.
Then we talk about institutional framework. What made it fail the other time? We were running parallel programs, and we wanted every sector to be involved. MDAs, private sector, come, let's work together to achieve this program. Where do we need you to sustain it, to strengthen it? Bring in your resources. Let us do it together so that it can last longer than it did the other regime.
So you are optimistic that this is something that will continue?
This is something that will continue, because all the needs, all the gaps had been looked into before it started. It took us 2 years, 1 year actually, to plan the process, going to learn, seeing where we got it wrong, getting all the reports. It's not just Economic Research Institute, NICE, that gave us the report. We had a lot. And we had to sit down with all these experts to say, so, okay, what are you bringing to the table? What is left for finance to do? What is left for budget and planning? What is left for education? How do you do it? It's something that everybody is on the table to say, okay, let's do it better in this way. So it's not something that we'll go and sleep and say it's a political program. We don't want it to be a political program, because the poor is not PDP or APC. They are children who live in Nigeria, who have a right to eat.
I'm just wondering then, you said that you are hoping that as you go along, infrastructure will improve.
It has. We have started that. Most governments
What statistics do you have to show that indeed concerns like this have been taken on board, and that we're not hoping to just say, well, we'll keep managing as we normally do in Nigeria?
Yes,
and sometimes the management gets worse instead of better.
For the infrastructure, especially the boreholes, we've had a lot of private sector organizations going to the schools to build classrooms, to build boreholes. That's statistics we have. We have state governments, especially Kaduna. Kaduna started early because they wanted to understand what the challenges are. A lot of programs in Nigeria we delay because we say, oh, it's a gamut of problems, we can't start. And so the programs that should benefit the populace, we keep, because we feel, oh, it would be a waste of resources. When he started, and he saw the challenges, he stopped. It wasn't because of funds, because at that time, federal government had not come in. We hadn't announced that we were starting. He wanted to start to say, let me understand this program before I embrace it. Because first of all, governments have to embrace it. They have to understand how the funds are benefiting their local economies. You can't put 2 billion in a state and there will not be activities in the local economy. Not just feeding, in farming, in jobs created. So we should look at the program from the reach, from the transparency, from the things it has brought on board, the innovations it has brought to allow a lot of sectors express themselves.
Mrs. Ogoko, in fairness to your party, a lot of state governors, even under the PDP, have embraced this program. Yeah. And one would have thought that if they're not satisfied with how it's been implemented, perhaps they would have shown how they hope to do it when they are, if this is how it's going to be political, they will show how they hope to do it at a national level, even from their state.
Mabe, as you've pointed out, we lack statistics on some of the things that they've done, and we're hoping that very soon we would have numbers. But if you even look at the narrative that she's given, at some point, most of the state governors or the state government refused to bring in any counterpart funding. And it could be based on the fact that they've looked at it holistically. They don't think the framework is right. They would not invest in a program that is not well thought out. But when I started, I said...
States, so we have... I interviewed
Enugu
somebody.
State.
We have states that have bought into this program. Delta State is one of the states that is implementing it and implementing it wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
You know, so when you say that they're looking and isn't that just providing?
I don't agree when you
excuses?
said wholeheartedly, because I also have a publication on Delta school feeding program where the women were complaining, or the vendors were complaining, that 70,000, that they were not even breaking even feeding the children on 70,000. But let's go back to the fact that the Nigerian Institute of Social and Economic Research made a recommendation. Before you started out, you should have listened to the recommendations that they made. One of it is that the reason why this program was stopped the last time was that there was non-remittance of counterpart funding, and that you should, before you begin, build the necessary infrastructure, build the necessary sanitary infrastructure needed to run this program. This is a government that would go against every indices of sustainable development, and they set out something and they fail and they make excuses. This is not sustainable.
Is it failing right now?
It is, because the state governors of the state government refuse to pay. They won't pay. And so you're carrying this burden when we have, for instance, for this year, we have only 340 million naira, 340 billion earmarked for our health sector. We need all this money to build infrastructure. You're doing it the wrong way. I'm hoping that in 2019, somebody will come in, even if it's your party, somebody should do it right. You're not doing it right. You didn't listen to what the Research Institute said, so it will fail.
My point is, you know, in terms of doing it right, shouldn't we be seeing examples from, you know, one of the reasons why you have an opposition party is they show themselves to be the alternative government, and they usually show that from the states that they hold. Shouldn't we be seeing them doing it right from those states?
You've just said that Delta embraced it and they're feeding the children.
Oh yes, I said
but
Delta.
Then,
just a moment, let me clarify. I did say Delta embraced it because I happened to interview the person in charge of social investment programs in that state, Shimita Bello, and she spoke very glowingly. I mean, she spoke side by side with somebody who is implementing on behalf of the federal government, and they agreed on so many things. They said yes, they face challenges, but then it's been a huge success from what she said.
Yeah, but if Delta, for instance, has embraced it and they have this success story because somehow along the line they built their infrastructure ahead of time, that is not comparable to Zamfara and Taraba, where these things are lacking.
Can you use one state to, you know, to
Zamfara? I wouldn't use. I wouldn't use.
No, it's a failure because
no.
It's not
but you know, they are putting
up
the pictures and the stories online. I did my research and I read the stories are from the APC-led government, and they are putting out very gory stories. Every single picture they have, and that's why you pulled it out, is of children who are eating in the classroom. The recommendation of a research institute was not followed. You just went off the cuff because of the excitement, because of the charade. You set up this program and you overlooked every single indices that led to it stopping in 2015. It is not sustainable.